demonic angel, and today I'm just gonna do I'm not sure what I'll do next. I'll have a little bit of homework and stuff, and then I'm going to really get into planning my next Goetia collaboration video. But for today, I'm just gonna do tarot and go from there. So today I have the Three of Swords. Probably not a favorite card, but the Suit of Swords is just as necessary as anything else, and I don't see this as negative. I see it as challenges. That without these dark times, it's hard to know who, who we are without some challenges, without some suffering, right? So we really learn about ourselves as individuals, and it's very important. So it's just going to happen as part of the individuation process. Don't be afraid of cards, don't reshuffle them. Just kind of take what you can. Tarot is here to teach. So obviously we've got the clouds, and it's raining, because that's saying when it rains it pours. That's what this is happening. It's like a guy, his wife and his wife are going to get divorced, and then his car breaks down, and his medical debt goes to collectors. When it rains it pours. So all these swords, they're just stabbing him through the heart, overwhelming the person. So, it's just, that's what comes to mind. This is the Sorrow card. Now, when something happens that is sad, it's very appropriate to feel sorrow over loss, an unexpected betrayal, or the sorrow at the end of a relationship, sorrow over a death of a family member. This sorrow card is really personal losses of relationships with other people. Not so much finances and these kinds of aspects, but those losses can kind of exasperate this and overwhelm a person at that time. Whereas when things are going well in our lives, we can handle and break down the finances and the health and have better thinking and look at our emotions. But it's much harder to do mundane things when we experience depression, when we are stuck in sorrow. So it just feels like that heavy weight when that's happening. So that I think everybody kind of gets the idea of that. So it's just, I wanted to put that out there, that it's personal losses like that and it's just, oops, sorry. Your mom dies, and you look at the phone and you're like, 2 weeks later, I'm going to call my mom and tell her I made this really great recipe. And then you realize your mom's not going to answer the phone. You thought you had this great marriage, and out of the blue you get, divorce papers. And now this whole, you don't even know who you are sense of, that's all been taken from underneath you, right? That's sorrow. Because then what happens, of course, is that thinking of, boy, I had it really good before this. I didn't truly appreciate what I had when I had it. And I think it's just really normal to feel that way. We all take those mundane things that we have for granted sometimes that are really beautiful. But out of my work with necromancy and tarot, let me tell you that some of the best things I have learned are that when I enjoy some junk food, I'm really happy that I have, you know, the vehicle of my body to do so. That might sound silly. Or that I can just go outside and smell the rain. I rarely, you know, get in that mindset of forgetting about it. That's like what I hope other people can get out of these kinds of things. So one of the things, though, is if you take what I just said with you, from now on, you will experience life in a much more full and grounded way. You be present in the moment when you stop to appreciate something. And you feel humbled that you're part of it. You're living in the moment and you're being grounded. And that is the best thing that you can do to honor these unfortunate experiences that we all are going to go through. And you learn that lesson. And this is what I'm talking about, this sword suit, building the character, building the soul, and that individuation and evolution. So, you know, we have these situations. One of the things that I talked about with a person I was doing readings for is that she was at that part where they didn't have any children, her husband and her, they were divorcing, but they were trying to divide the pets and the money. And this was just, they felt like the pets were their kids. So it was going like that, I'm going to stab you. And it hurts if you try to take something like that from somebody else because you know that they love it. But it also hurts if you lose it. So there's not a happy win for anybody. But it's this kind of aspect of looking at it in a love reading of division of property after a relationship is done. Now, reversed. Reversed here is after sorrow, there's suffering, where that period of time of after this loss or death, obviously if we see this with death, then you can kind of understand that somebody has some of that kind of energy happening for them. And you look at let's say you see Two of Cups with this. That union is not very solid. So you're looking at that surrounding stuff as usual. But suffering. This is like you can't get over it. Now whatever breakup or death has happened to you, it, according to things like Carl Jung, is going to need to be integrated. Because sorrow is something in the heart, so we've already taken it in, and it's an emotional thing. It's an emotional water. The heart is made of blood and water. So, you've taken this in, and it's just sorrow. It's agony. It's depression. Something that could make somebody have clinical depression. This just drags on and on and on. And that's because they've taken that experience and integrated it in a negative way into their psyche. So they just see the loss everywhere. And let's say they see somebody talking on the phone with their mom, and they just feel loss and sadness because they're not at that point of seeing the rainbow, the other side of the bridge, the fresh air. They don't see that at this point. This is just sorrow. And that's what to say that we judge this, it's really not. When somebody faces a monumental loss, I think a period of sorrow is also normal. However, after that kind of, I think that, at least for me, because I've been through this, personally, I did not attend my great-grandmother's funeral because I was an alcoholic. And besides being ashamed, I also, needed to be drinking. And, that kind of sorrow that I took for a long time, that was necessary to shaping what eventually became the ability to see the good and the love and the self-forgiveness. So I think that this sorrow period can really build. Now, that's what I'm saying is like, sometimes we've really got to reach the emotional rock bottom. And then we really learn compassion for ourselves and for others, probably learning like I did, that to love other people, we must first love ourselves in some fundamental ways. That's taking that sorrow and integrating it into the psyche in this different way that is strength, that is compassion, that if somebody else lost their grandma, they would just come right up to you and want to talk to you, because you would exude that kind of energy, like, I understand, and you just would be there. That's what I'm saying. This is going to get integrated into this fundamental loss, has to be integrated eventually. So I just see nothing wrong with a period of sorrow, but sometimes people develop depression, addictions, and self-loathing that becomes them, and they don't go to the other side of healing. And that's because true healing is painful. It's to really look inside of one's soul and see where we are to blame, what we're doing wrong, is not an easy thing to do. It's not also easy to see when you're just in a mindset that just is so broken. But being broken is a fundamental part of learning. So some people, though, that's what they become. Those are the people who they lose somebody and they die of a broken heart. We've all kind of heard that. It just consumes this loss, and it's just sad, right? It's like probably, as far as the loss of the loved one, this should not, you keep going on for both of you, because your ancestors are part of you, and so are your friends and whoever you forge bonds with. And if you are divorcing, this is the time to reevaluate. If you don't like something about the way you are, fix it, and then, go date again. But first, look at yourself and say, hey, what kind of hobbies, do I like? Just enjoy time alone. Get past that suffering and just build the new you. And that kind of stage of exhilarating, almost like a childlike, playful outlook on life can be had again. And you would never think that here, you're whatever, in your 30s or 40s and you're divorcing, that you would think of yourself as in a childlike way again, but yet you get over that worst time in your life and you've got that new zest and lust for life that's just like seeing life as an adventure. And I hope that everybody can get to that other side of this. So you start off here, you have sorrow, which leads to sometimes suffering, because suffering is that subconscious choice. And then we really get the building of character on the individuation. So I hope you got something from my interpretation of the Three of Swords.